Everybody, I did a video recently about gaslighting and the way that Destiny was improperly using the term gaslighting, but it had awful sound. So I'm going to summarize what I said in that video. Of course, when I say summary, God help me, it's probably going to be a 20-minute video, but that one was like a 30 or 40-minute video. So anyhow, gaslighting is a psychological term that has been co-opted into pop culture. Much like narcissist, it's very overused on people who are not even narcissists. And when I say not narcissists, I mean people who cannot be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. Everyone has some kind of narcissistic trait. It's a spectrum. But when you get beyond a point to where you can be diagnosed with the DSM-5 with narcissistic personality disorder, you are something else. You are a person who lacks empathy. You are a person who is grandiose, who has a very fragile ego, delusions of grandeur. Like, there are about 9 different diagnostic criteria for you to have narcissistic personality disorder. But with pop culture, everyone's like, oh, so-and-so's a narcissist, a narcissist, a narcissist, a narcissist. And it's like, However, I would say, and this is not a professional opinion, but I would say, as far as I can see, Martell Holt has narcissistic personality disorder. But this isn't about him. This is about Destiny misusing a term, misusing jargon that belongs to the DSM-5, that belongs among the realm of counselors, psychiatrists, therapists, etc. And that is gaslighting. Gaslighting. She said that Mel was gaslighting. Remember that post she made where she had on a Kristen Dior hat and she's like, thanks for proving my point and that I helped you. Hashtag old tricks. Hashtag gaslighting. Hashtag see you at work. Hashtag Detroit District. When you hashtag Detroit District, you are threatening someone with physical harm. Because whenever somebody's like, Detroit, what? Detroit, what? Or like something like that, when they're calling out their city, I'm from Brooklyn, blah, 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 that is a threat of physical harm. And that is why I said in my video that I think Destiny wants to fight Mel. I think she's that upset about being cut off and being rejected. However, we're not talking about that either. We're talking about gaslighting. The term gaslighting comes from a movie called Gaslight. And in the movie, here's the plot of the movie. A husband is cheating with a mistress, and he doesn't want to go out sad. He doesn't want to go out like, oh, you cheated and you are throwing your wife of this many years, her devotion and loyalty to you, you're throwing her away for a mistress. So he decided within himself he was going to drive her crazy into a crazy home, and then while she's there to move in the mistress and claim they grew apart or whatever. So what he did, this is a movie from the 1950s, okay? It's not 2024. So all over their house, they had gas lights. Their lighting system, they had lights that ran on gas. And every day, he would dim those lights ever so slightly. And she would be like, oh, babe, it looks a little dimmer in here. Are the lights getting dimmer? And he's like, no. I don't know what you're talking about. Everything looks the same. Are you okay, dear? Yeah, it just looks darker in here. It's got to be darker in here. I'm sure of it. Are you? That didn't happen. And every day, ever so often, regularly, he would dim those lights even more. And also not just the lights, but she would hear sounds in the house. And he would make somebody make sounds in the house. And she's like, I hear this, I hear this, I hear this. And he's like, babe, I don't hear anything. Are you okay? There's nothing. You were home alone. There was no one there with you. What do you mean you hear footsteps? What do you mean you hear someone in the attic? Are you okay? And he kept dimming those lights until she was just like, I swear I see it darker, but I believe you. You're my husband. You wouldn't lie to me. And you're telling me it's not dimmer in here. And just, you know how Daffy Duck does that laugh when he goes crazy? Ooh, 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 ooh. Like she just... It's an insidious form of abuse because you're telling someone reality is not reality. And this is something Destiny does all of the time with insinuations, with telling a half story. Something about Destiny Payton, she can't tell the same story twice. I remember she was sitting in front of Carlos King, and Carlos was like, yeah, so you legally couldn't talk about your life, and that's why you didn't share so much. No, LeBerg didn't gag me. I chose not to say nothing.
And then on the Dear Wifey, future wifey podcast, she's like, well, legally, I had a legal gag order and I couldn't say. And it's like, which one is it? And she did the same thing with Sunny and Moses, where she was just like, I left you months before you, like the only reason he's with her is because I got it from the table, and I left you months before you got with her. And then when she's arguing with Sunny, August, July, yeah, we were still together, we were still talking, we were still blah, 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 blah. Which one is it? You left him first, or he cheated on you with Sunny? Which one is it? Why can't you just tell the same story twice? And that happened when she talked about helping Mel rent a car. So when she was speaking to us, the audience, in these interviews that she would have, she would say something like this. Yeah, Mel had to file bankruptcy and she was down on her luck and she didn't have enough money to blah, 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 and I had to rent her a car. So she made it seem like she helped Mel financially. For years, she had us all thinking that because of the way that she would tell a story. She always conveniently leaves out details that make her look like what she actually is. Which is, people make a play on the words destiny and destitute. This is not a woman who was destitute, but she said even on the show that she had to get food stamps. You don't qualify for food stamps unless you're broke. You don't qualify. Go to a DSHS, go to a CSO, you don't qualify unless you're broke. So she let that cat out of the bag. So when Mel needed to rent a car for her driver to drive her to Antigua, she had just filed bankruptcy only because Martel filed first. Martel filed for bankruptcy, and if Mel didn't file, she would have been stuck with all of his bills and all of his debts. She said, nope, I'm filing too. That's how that happened. And when you file bankruptcy, that is a hard reset on your credit. All of a sudden, all of your credit cards are just void. All of a sudden, like it's just reset. Like on a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis, you press that button, Sega. Like it's a hard reset. Ground zero. Starting over, right? So she's also on this enterprise no rent list because Melody had money on top of money on top of money. And so because Mel had it like that, she wouldn't get in people back their cars. She wouldn't get in people back their cars. She's like, whatever they got my card number, they gonna charge me anyway. It's Sunday. I don't feel like getting up. I'll get in people their car tomorrow. I'll get in people their car back tomorrow. And because she would do that, it's like, okay, as an enterprise employee, it's like, look, I promised these people this SUV on this date because you were supposed to turn it in by this date, and you're complicating things, and we're getting lower star ratings because people aren't getting cars they requested. Just don't rent a car to this woman. And that is how she ended up using one of Destiny's credit cards to get herself a car. Now, Destiny, the text message threads from the red phone, they're already out there, and I'm going to summarize what Mel said. Destiny had $200 available on that credit card. Mel had to put $2,000 on her credit card just to use $1,000 for her car rental. She had to pay off Destiny's debt in order to get her current enough in her account to then rent a car. So she paid $1,000 worth of Destiny's debt, and then basically Melody paid for her own car and then some. Destiny was pocketing money that she doesn't want you to think that. She wants you to think Mel was down on her luck, divorced and didn't have Martel no more and didn't have a bag anymore, and that she had to spend Destiny's money, and that's just not the case. It's just not how it happened. So Destiny, Mel has to break out her phone and read the whole text conversation. Okay, this has been deposited. Okay, blah, blah, blah. PayPal receipt this, PayPal receipt that. Yeah, happy face emoji, kissy face, kissy face, kissy face, cry face, LOL, let me know when you get there, let me know when you get back. Had to read all of that out to us because it's just like, Destiny, you were the one, it's still, while you were trying to help her, she had to help you. Mel had to put $2,000 on that card, and that was only one transaction. Mel has given Destiny, according to the stories, around $10,000 between the sponsorships for her events, between paying her light bill, electric bill, which was thousands of dollars. Like, Mel did this. And she tried to make it look like she did something similar for Mel, and it never happened. And she also tried to imply that there was something romantic going on with LeBeric and Mel. LeBeric is Destiny's ex-husband, right? Gotta keep these men, because Destiny is Lance, flirting with Jalen, LeBeric, Moses. Damn. All them names, just Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike, didn't cost me my trail of thought.
Able to tell that story correctly. And this is why people don't. It's why people think that she's a liar, because when people bring out receipts, all of a sudden it doesn't match her story. So this goes back to when Destiny was saying that Mel is a bad friend. She said Mel is a bad friend. And Mel said, if I was such a bad friend, how come I was paying your bills? And she's just like, who would ever say that? Who would ever say such a thing like that? Why would she reveal that? And that's just, it's like, no, you said I was a bad friend, and I was proven to the public you said it to, that I was a great friend to you. That's how that works. That's how that happened. And then at the same token, it's like, well, if Mel was so bad for saying she financially helped you out, why aren't you just as bad for saying you financially helped her out? And on top of that, you a lie. You were lying. On top of that, you were lying. Mel had to pay your debt just so she could use your card to rent a car from Enterprise. She had to pay off $1,000 on your credit card so she could use another $1,000 of her own money to get her that car. But if Mel was so bad for doing it, you attempted to do the same thing and you failed. And I remember Letitia said on an episode after Sunny said she was, Destiny didn't have enough money for makeup or dancers or anything when she opened for Monica with Mel. Or aside from, Mel also separately opened for Monica. And Tisha was like, see, that's the same thing Mel did. She was talking about helping her out financially, and that's just wrong. And it's like, you asked me who I was to her or whatever, and I just told you. You asked me a question and I answered it fully and honestly. Like, I think they're trying to push Sunny off the show, personally. I think they're trying to push her off the show and to isolate her and to make her feel away because, one, she likes Mel. And two, I mean, Destiny tried to make Sunny look broke. What's her name? Sunny was a millionaire long ago. If you've ever seen Sunny's resume, like you don't have to like Sunny. You don't have to like her personality. You don't have to like her baby doll forehead. You don't have to play with none of it. But you can't call her broken and accomplished. That woman is Mel level accomplished. These people can't take nothing from her and have nothing to offer her. So their thing about Moses is about the best they can do. Because after that, then what? Sunny compares to women like Shanita. Shanita, Mel's friend, who is Nigerian, constantly back and forth between Africa, supporting her indigenous communities. Can't take nothing from Sunny. Really look at this woman's resume. And it's public. You don't have to go very far. But that woman deserves a round of applause. I won't get into the details here, but I see why Moses decided she was a trophy and she was a prize and married her. Now, Destiny and Letitia had a conversation where Letitia was like, well, could you take him from her if you wanted to? Imagine somebody saying that about Marceau. Imagine somebody saying the only reason Letitia is Marceau's wife. Imagine Alonda, the woman who he was rumored to be with for years. The only reason she's seated at the table is because I got up. She would pass out, okay? It wouldn't be good for her at all, right? But she's asking that question and she's like, yeah, he was staring at me. I could have him back if I want to, blah, blah, blah. He had you for 15 years and never married you. He had Sunny for less than a year and proposed and married her. And why are you on TV? Chasing behind, arguing behind, following behind, and crying behind somebody's husband. You could have been a side chick. She could have been a side chick. It doesn't matter. They're husband and wife now. And you're on TV arguing with a woman and crying at her husband. You let Carlos make a fool out of you for a check. You want to be famous so bad, you don't even know how this looks. Moses was never your boyfriend. You guys were friends with benefits for a long time. And if you're talking 15 years of you guys on and off, that means, listen, Sunny is about to come with some receipts about why LeBeric, one, divorced Destiny, and two, why he had to get a paternity test for Law, and three, why he was really mad that Destiny refused to name Law LeBeric. But when she was arguing with Moses, it slipped that, yeah, you know, you're naming him after our kid Law. And then he was like, Justice. She was like, yeah, Law and Justice, the baby we were going to have. And Destiny, with the way that you tell these stories, it doesn't sound like it's 6 miscarriages. It sounds like fetal deletion, fetal removal surgery. And I'm not here to shame you about that at all. I'm just saying that you have trouble with telling a straight story. And that's why people have some issue with you. That's why some people can't really vibe with you. And so when she said Mel was gaslighting, she was gaslighting Mel when she said Mel was gaslighting. Because Mel was telling a story to according to reality, according to proof and facts. And Destiny was telling some kind of fairy tale. Yeah, I helped Mel and I had to help her. She had to help you help her. Destiny, she had to help you help her. She had to pay off your debt in order to use your credit card to get a car for her driver to drive her to the airport so she could go to Antigua for a vacation. That's how that really happened. And that's embarrassing for you. But I also think Destiny suffers from delusions of grandeur. I would not call her like a narcissist the way that I would Martell, even though I think they're twinning in a lot of ways. But when she said on that show that Moses married Sunny just to spite her, just to hurt her, and I was looking at Nell like, what's going on with you? Are you just going to eat that up? Are you just going to take that? Who would go down to the courthouse? Who would go down to the county? Who would go down to their state's capital to get a marriage license and fuse all of their bills, all of their money with somebody just to hurt another person? Because if that was really Moses, you're stupid for 15 years. Moses did not do that just to hurt you. I can tell Moses loved Destiny, and I can tell he didn't want to hurt her. It's just the better woman came along, the right woman came along, and he was just like, I gotta catch this one, I'm sorry. I gotta catch this one, I'm sorry. I really do believe Moses cared about Destiny. I really do believe he had the probation issue and sent, a couple of his dear friends to support Destiny in the audience. I really believe all of that. That's 15 years. I believe all of that. But when you say somebody got married and changed their entire life just to spite you, how important do you really think you are? That's a lot. No, that's like somebody cutting off their hand just to prove a point to someone. You think that person wants to lose their whole hand to prove a point to you? Either you're delusional or that person is so mentally ill, it's a shame on you for having entertained that person for 15 years. Like, you see how, like, the telling of a story, like, it doesn't make much sense. I absolutely believe, Moses still has some, like, he has a type. He's got a type. Sunny and Destiny, they look something similar. They definitely, they don't look like family, but they fit in the same category of woman physically, not mentally, not emotionally, and not financially at all. So it's crazy to me how someone who said during the season that she had to file for food stamps to call Sunny broke, when Sunny has been provably a millionaire. Provably. That's wild to me. I don't know how you do it. And so we're sitting here watching this reality show, and I'm just like, Do you guys see what this looks like? Like, we're watching you guys tell these half stories, these false stories. You're mad at millimeters because you wanted to bully Mel in peace. Say that. Destiny's talking about middle-aged women who are broken. Projection. I mean, people want to say Destiny is 37 and I'm like this, 35 plus, same category. But when you're saying you went to school with Martell and Martell is 42, sounds like you're trying to knock a few years off your age if you were the one responsible for that rumor that you were, somehow in your early or mid 30s. So you're calling somebody middle-aged and broken, and mirror, girl, if you're on a show crying about somebody else's husband, girl, middle-aged, broken. And here's what I will do. I will give Destiny credit where credit is due. I do feel like Destiny has evolved and Destiny has changed. When I said that before, people in my audience were like, nope, disagree with you, uppity girl. She did not change. And I'm just like, I can accept that. But I have seen change in Destiny where it is easier for her to change. And that is in terms of men and how they treat her and what she will allow for herself. That is where I saw growth in her with her interview with Dr. Heavenly. But she has not grown in the areas through therapy and through life coaching in the areas that are where she has to point a finger at herself. So, for example, her losing that relationship with Mel and what that looks like on her behalf, as far as her betraying Mel, recording Mel in her own home and giving it to Martell, and on the phone with Martell 3 a.m. in the morning. Remember when Martell tried to hack Mel's phone and somebody was hustling backwards and Melody ended up getting all of his messages and calls, and the way that they hoped that he would get hers. And so she has all of this. That red phone needs witness protection and a security guard. It has so many receipts. I'm wearing red today because shout out to the red phone. Shout out to the red phone. But you would think adults could have a straight conversation. You would think adults can reason among themselves and come to common terms. And they can't, because you have elementary school playground games where it's liar, liar, pants on fire. People are like, oh, high school games. And I'm like, this is not high school. We learned this on the playground. This is something nasty. This is something juvenile. And I don't mean back that thing up. Like, this is something childish. And not Gambino. It's embarrassing. I get contact embarrassment from watching it, and maybe you do too, because some of these things are so easy to see through. It's like, was that even worth it? Here's what reality TV rewards. You remember Mia from Rohop and the way Mia absolutely declassed the show when she first got on there? But Mia is so damn honest. People can't knock her for nothing. They can't go around with your tea because you spilled it already. And you told the story straight. People honor that when it comes to reality TV. Now, in real life, I don't know. Maybe it's something different if you're that honest. But on reality TV, you get rewarded as a reality star by being authentic. The audience will accept you, even if you're, Jocelyn Hernandez, Cardi B, all these people who had these checkered pasts. We didn't care because they were authentic and they were entertaining to watch. And they shot to stardom. They're still, way past whatever shows that they were on. They're still a big deal because they were authentic in every moment. Tiffany Pollard, New York. She was so authentically herself. And it wasn't the good guy. She was the villain, but she was unapologetically and sincerely the villain. And she was rewarded with that. And I'm just like, you guys getting on reality TV, that's the key. That's the key to your success. That's the key to you being well received by the audience. That was an exhausting conversation to have. And I think that's why I normally do these things with my camera off. Because it's exhausting to think about where my face is and if I'm looking at the camera, and all of this weighty conversation about psychological interactions that we're seeing in social settings. So I hope I made it clear what gaslighting is. Let me know in the conversation or in the comment section below if you fully now know the difference between gaslighting and the way the authentic definition of gaslighting and what Destiny was using as the definition to gaslighting. It's a lot like the word trauma bonding and trauma bond. People in pop culture, they have redefined the word trauma bond to mean, girl, you got cheated on, let me hand you some tissue because I've been cheated on too. And you bond over that experience. That is not trauma bonding. It is not. Trauma bonding is like what happens between the person who traumatizes you, the person who traumatizes the victim, and the victim, their relationship, what that grows into. You've seen some stories in the news or on reality TV shows about a girl who was a grape victim. I mean, I could say the word, my channel's not monetized, but a grape victim and a grapist. Let's say he's her uncle or he's a family friend and does it a lot. She might fall in love. That's a trauma bond. Do you get it? It's not we sisters and we girls and we tossing back shots about how we both are domestic violence survivors. That's not trauma bonding. That's not trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is what happens with Stockholm syndrome, where you have a kidnapper and the kidnapped. The kidnapped person is starting to empathize and fall in love with and feel sympathy for their kidnapper. That's a trauma bond. A trauma bond is built when you have, let's say, a sorority or a fraternity, when the prophytes haze the neophytes, when they abuse them so much that they're fused together. And now they respect their prophytes and they love their prophytes and they call that person my soror, my frat, my whatever, when that person spanked you, starved you, took your money, talked bad about your family, whatever it was, beat you up, made you run up Q Mountain to get beat down. Like, that's what that is. So not between neophytes and neophytes, like people who are online during the pledge process together, but the prophyte and the neophyte, they have a trauma bond. Do you get it? It's when the victimized and the victimizer are fused together. That's a trauma bond. So when you see people relating to Mel in these different chats and they're just like, oh, millimeters are so trauma bonded. You uneducated, ignorant person. You didn't even check the definition of the word. That's not what a trauma bond is. It's not. Google it. Or, the way people are using narcissist and gaslighting. Like, I hope I have helped you with these definitions because my primary modality is that of a teacher. So as much as I'm talking about reality TV, for me, it's never like, I'm never here with a piping hot tea. I'm here with more of like a coffee talk latte conversation where it's just like a reflection in how do we take this as a lesson in our lives? How do we apply? Because I'm terrified of being a person like Destiny or Letitia or Stormy, these motherless daughters who can't see themselves with a critical eye. I'm absolutely horrified of being a person who is horrible and doesn't see it. I absolutely needed to know where my light and where my darkness was and what those things were. I have absolutely had to meet myself in the dark because I would hate to be on a public platform in denial about who I am and what I've done and allergic to accountability. So the lessons that I tried to take from Love and Marriage Huntsville, for example, it's really power for living, right? A critical eye when we're diving into the psychology of these people, right? I have had a habit, some psychology classes, but I've had a habit of studying psychology and therapy and psychiatry outside of college. And I have a really